Very pleased now to be joined here at Blog of the Boys by the one and only, the dashing, the debonair, the internationally famous, somebody who has put up with many of my annoying Slack messages. It is SB Nation's own, their favorite, James Dator. James, thank you so much for hopping on over to Blog of the Boys.
Thank you. That is the best introduction I think I've ever had.
So how is life?
Life is good. Life is good. Life as a Panthers fan is bizarre, and I'm sure we're going to get to that.
Well, we can. I do want to give you a chance quickly to introduce yourself to the Blog on the Boys audience. People who follow me on Twitter may have followed you once upon a time. We were talking about it right now. But I want to say it was after the Bucks Chiefs Super Bowl, the COVID one. We
Yes.
did it was like an app or something that we did like live chats in or something. It was like you, me, and maybe Mark Schofield. I'm not certain. But we were the two people who were kind of the ones they asked to do it over and over and over again. So give us a refresher. You write all of our super funny, quick-witted things at SB Nation, but your whole kind of TLDR before we begin.
Yeah, the whole TLDR is I joined like the SB Nation group over a decade ago now, probably about 14 years ago now. I was a site manager for Cat Scratch Reader, which is still a Carolina Panthers blog. Pivoted over to being on the NFL team at sbnation.com and have kind of been there ever since. And now I'm a senior staff writer at .com, cover a little bit of everything, focusing a lot on the NHL and hockey right now, but also, NFL is still my first love. I still love the Panthers, even though they often don't love me back. And here we are.
You also have your thumb on all things Carolina related. I know we were chatting back during the PGA Championship when it was at Oakmont. They had some like drama circling around there. So anything in that neck of the woods, James can be of service. You mentioned you're a Carolina Panthers fan and that it's not great right now. Rico Dowdle, though, NFC Offensive Player of the Week, like that just happened. Like as you and I are recording this on Wednesday, this is going out on Thursday, but I mean, it can't be all that bad. You beat the Dolphins, Rico Dowdle, NFC Offensive Player of the Week.
Yeah, no, beating the Dolphins is an interesting feeling. Now, look, was Rico Dowdle fantastic? He absolutely was. Was that potentially the worst run defense I've ever seen an NFL team put on a field? Also, yes. But look, being a Panthers fan and living in Carolina, in general, the Hornets are terrible. UNC's a garbage fire, which I could spend 2 hours talking about Bill Belichick. So we need to take our wins where we can get them.
And you were host to the PGA Championship. You know what I mean? Like again,
Yes.
there's a lot of small victories that can be found across 2025. The Belichick thing is in and of itself just worthy of a whole discussion. The Panthers, I find cute and cuddly, and I'm in no way trying to allot this as an automatic win for the Cowboys, obviously, and this was kind of our approach last week when they went to play the Jets, who were also in a bit of a moribund moment the way the Panthers are. Are we fair to feel that? Like, we're scarred in our own ways, like we could sit here and go back and forth on, James has written many a headline poking fun at the Cowboys, so he's not just some victim here, everybody, but that being said, we're afraid to believe in anything these days. Are the Panthers a team that are capable of capitalizing on that, if that makes sense?
Not yet. I think you can feel safe that this is going to be a Cowboys win this week, unless something insane happens. Hey, maybe Rico Dowdle runs for another 200 yards. I don't see it happening, but there's a possibility. The thing right now is offensively, the Panthers are a bit of a mess still. They've got about 3 more weeks until Jalen Coker, who is their standout UDFA wide receiver from last year, comes back off injured reserve. He just started practicing today, but will not be in this Cowboys game. They're going to take it slow. Until that happens, this team's passing offense is pretty much Bryce trying to get the ball to Teteroa McMillan, and that's all they have because Hunter Renfrow is your second most reliable option. Because to give a little bit background about what's happened with the Carolina offense is they felt really good about their receivers, good enough that they traded away Adam Thielen and said, look, we've got Jalen Coker, we've got Xavier Legette, we've got Teteroa McMillan. These guys are looking great. 2 days after they traded away Thielen, Coker went down with a quad injury and hasn't played at all this year. So it's really limited what the Panthers could do. Now they're down 3 offensive linemen. which has been an issue as well to the run game up until the point that you run into the Dolphins. So yeah, I think if you look at the Cowboys, yes, you guys have your own demons and things are happening, but there isn't a planet where Carolina could do something like hang that 40-40 tie with the Packers a couple of weeks ago. There isn't a planet where they're on that same level.
I think I agree with you. Again, not to get in over my skis, and these are obviously famous last words, but I agree with your kind of overall disposition and character. Um, I've sort of realized I was saying in the lead up to that Packers game that the Cowboys had this really incestuous relationship with the Packers, and there's a lot like Dez caught it, the Aaron Rodgers game, Mike McCarthy in general, like there were a million, and now Micah Parsons, and realized last week that they have a similarly. I don't mean to just use the word incestuous a lot, but incestuous relationship with the Jets. Brian Schottenheimer's career there. There were a number of other factors. I don't know. Aaron Glenn played for the Cowboys, and there's a similar thing relative to the Panthers. You talked about Jalen Coker. Jonathan Mingo's probably not playing in this game, still on his way back. That trade obviously was consummated between the teams last year. Jonathan Brooks was a name that Jerry Jones mentioned specifically in the lead to the draft that he was taken in as somebody who the Cowboys were eyeing. Chuba Hubbard played for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. I mean, if we're really reaching here, Greg Olson has kind of become the de facto color analyst of the Cowboys, played obviously a large portion, the most significant portion of his career with the Panthers. And David Tepper, if anybody wants to be Jerry Jones, I would argue that it's probably him in like the worst possible way.
You are absolutely right.
Am I off base here, or do you feel like there are these weird dots to kind of connect between Dallas and Carolina?
There are definitely some weird dots to connect. And correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't there reports like right around the draft that Dallas was looking at McMillan and then Carolina took him right before?
There was so much there that I overlooked that. Yeah, and that was the impetus for the George Pickens trade, was not landing Ted McMillan in the first round. And that has proven, obviously, to have worked out really well for Dallas. And we didn't even mention, we kind of did, but Rico Dowdle. So, yeah, the Ted McMillan thing was one of the most important forks in the road that Dallas didn't choose, but was ultimately pushed to. And even before that, I would offer they were highly, highly interested in Pat Surtain and J.C. Horn in the 2021 draft. And because they were both gone, they had to settle for Micah Parsons, and that obviously took us to where we are today.
Yeah, it is funny when you draw all these comparisons, but yes, absolutely. Like for Carolina, you talk about these kind of incestuous relationships. I look at the Cowboys and I look at the Bears, between like the Bears with the Greg Olson trade, making the
Bryce
quarterback
Young,
swap, the Bryce, and into the past, like Julius Peppers going there, and there's been a lot of crossover between those two teams. So it's funny how sometimes these line up.
Well, Jonathan Mingo is not playing, and that is disappointing. Rico Dowdle is. Where does I'm sure you saw. I don't know if you did anything about this for .com. Rico Dowdle's quote about like they better be ready or they know all about me. I for my 2 cents are any Cowboys fan who's like clutching their pearls over this, relax. Like this was just a innocuous quote. But is your vibe or read on this situation? He's also a Carolina guy. Like he played at South Carolina. Like I think that's also a little bit lost in this. But whatever. Is your read on this that it is somewhat of a revenge game for Rico? It doesn't seem like that to me, but I'm curious for your vantage point.
I actually don't think so. I think he's he's been in a position where up until last week, until Chuba Hubbard went down with injury, he's really been used only a few snaps a game, hasn't had a lot of opportunities. Right. So I think it's kind of his 15 minutes of fame. It's his time in the limelight right now a little bit. So I think he's making the most of it and getting a bit of talk out there. But I wouldn't put as much credence in this being a Rico Dowdle revenge game as like flipping the script and saying, is this a Miles Sanders revenge game?
That's also another point of incest, I guess, if we're really going down the line here. That's really interesting. Also, isn't Izzy Mukwamu on the Panthers practice squad? Former Cowboy, also former Gamecock as well. So again, we could just go on and on and on. Something I like to ask the person who covers the opposing team or knows the opposing team very well is who's the player on the Panthers that if Carolina were to win on Sunday, what is the reason that we're not talking about that would be the impetus for that? I mean, we talk about the chalk things, but so what is the non-chalk thing that only Panthers fans would know that Cowboys fans would be stunned by? Like, how do we let this happen when it was sort of hiding in plain sight?
So I'm going to throw one out there that probably nobody else would in the Panther sphere, and that's going to be Bryson Tremaine, who is a UDFA receiver, went to Stanford, was a free agent last year, and he's come in. Look, there isn't much to write home about when it comes to the Panthers passing game. He is the second leading receiver on the team with a ground total of 106 yards, because that's how bad everything is except for McMillan in the air. However, in the absence of Jalen Coker, Tremaine's been filling this role that Dave Canales really loves on his offense of having a jumbo slot, big slot receiver as much as he possibly can. This is a guy who's 6'5", so he loves to send kind of what he did a lot of the time as offensive coordinator with the Buccaneers, loves to send these big bodied wide receivers into linebackers and get mismatches there. And they've really been missing that without having Coker, who's 6'4". This was one of the big things about what the Panthers were doing is between McMillan and Xavier Legette and Coker, they had all of these receivers who were 6'3" or above, all over 200 pounds. They were just big-bodied guys. So Tremaine has kind of filled that role a little bit. And he's one of these guys that doesn't make a lot of noise until he does. You're not going to see him get targeted 10 times a game, but time and time again, we're seeing him come up with these 16, 17, 18-yard receptions on 3rd and long when it's really looked like the Panthers are going to stall out, and then it's kept the drive going. And other than him, the other guy that I would keep an eye on is Jimmy Horn Jr., who was Shadur Sanders' other target other than Travis Hunter. The Panthers picked him up late in the draft. They were blown away with his athleticism. Really only saw the field for the first time last week. Made a huge catch on 4th down that set up the game-winning touchdown for the Panthers. So another guy that they're going to integrate more and more. They love using him on jet sweeps, on gadget plays. So another guy who doesn't necessarily move the needle nationally, but Panthers fans are looking at being like, oh, Jimmy Horn Jr. could be a factor here. But again, saying it's a factor against the Cowboys is like, okay, it's a little bit like throwing a rock at a titanium building.
I appreciate that. I think everyone appreciates that. I also think that just is representative of how down bad you are, because I don't think that any of us would refer to the Cowboys as the titanium building. But we've all been there. We all understand that. But that's exactly the type of answer I was looking for. And along those lines, with regards to the titanium building, I understand that the Panthers fans are a little bit down right now and maybe apprehensive towards hope or anything like that. But with regards to the hope of winning this game, what concerns you the most? What is the part of what the Cowboys have going on at this moment in time that you're thinking to yourself, holy crap, I don't want to have to deal with that?
I think Dak is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL when he has a clean pocket and he has time to throw. The Panthers pass rush is not very good. And when you couple that with the fact that your receivers are very good, I don't know how the Panthers are going to answer Pickens. They're going to stick Horn on him, which is going to be a really interesting matchup. But I don't know if he can win that battle because he tends to be better in zone than man and not a great man corner at times. So I think that's an element that really worries me. And then a lot of it, the Panthers' big issue right now, and it's not to understate, what can the Cowboys do, but the story of the Carolina Panthers has been so many self-inflicted wounds. It has been Bryce Young starting games slow and getting them into a hole, and then being in a position where they have to throw their way out, and it just doesn't work. So if Carolina can kind of prevent some of those early turnovers, maybe put together a couple of drives, maybe they have a shot. But the big thing that does worry me is that George Pickens matchup. I don't know if Carolina has an answer to it.
That's well said. And I hope that all of your fears are realized, obviously, on Sunday afternoon. With regards to that, as we kind of get out of here, predictions for the game, generally.
I predict that I'm going to be sad. I predict that probably, it's a 1 Eastern kickoff, and I'm on the East Coast, so I'm going to guess like 127. I'm thinking about turning on the PlayStation, but then against my better judgment, I will stick through it anyway, and the Panthers will give me just enough hope somewhere around the mid of the 3rd quarter that it'll be compelling, and then they're going to get blown out at the end. So I expect it to be maybe a 1-score game at halftime, end up being like a 3-score win for the Cowboys when it's all said and done.
I have to ask, what are we into on the PlayStation run? Are you into this Ghost game that everyone's into right now? Is that
I am not. I'm on Border. I'm playing Borderlands and I'm on Battlefield Watch. Like Friday, Battlefield 6, my gaming starts for the fall.
I'm not. I have a PS5. I'm not a deep gamer by any means, and I sometimes I like to tweet random silly things during a Cowboys game, and I've been I've been struggling how to get this out as a tweet. So I'm just going to use you as my video game therapist for a second. I am horrible at finishing games. I love sports games. It's kind of a mindless thing while I listen to a podcast or whatever. But I'm still working on Spider-Man 2, which, I mean, I loved the first. I love it. I just haven't finished it. Hogwarts Legacy, haven't finished it. The first Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the guy that was in Shameless, you know what I'm talking about? The voice acting. So the first one, obviously, I don't have the second one, but I want to get there. I bought my PS5 as a bundle to get it with Horizon Forbidden something.
West,
So like these are all on my list. Like what do I have to do? How do I get good at playing video games? Like not actually good at doing that, but like just good at like actually sitting and playing the game.
You need to be a little bit selfish and clear your mind, because I know, look, family and everything, like that's the thing. As like I try and pee myself away and everything, I have come to realize that like my self-care makes me a better person for my family. So I am free to take the time and be like, I need a few hours to game, and you're going to get a much better dad at the very end of this.
That is a really sweet way to put it, and gave me a lot of self-confidence to be able to be selfish.
There you go.
We need to rework on the labeling because selfish isn't the right word.
Selfish is self-care. Self-care is the way to say it.
Okay, as we close, James, when I asked you for your TLDR, I thought you would bring this up. You have written my favorite thing ever that we've ever done as a team, as a company at SB Nation. I know you know what I'm talking about. Can you tell everyone, because it's such an amazing, I'm going to put the link to it in the description down below. If you want to give the TLDR version, you can. But what was it, and what is the story behind it?
I assume, because there's been several over the years, I assume it's me going to the wrong college.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So for obviously for those of you who don't know, because nobody's going to know, I'm originally from Australia. I've lost most of my accent. My dad was a New Yorker. My mom was an Australian, so I had dual citizenship. Anyway, finished high school in Australia and said, I'm going to come to America. I'm going to have the classic movie college experience. So I put in all my letters, I make all my things, and I get back my acceptances. My dad's living in Greensboro, North Carolina, which is middle of the state, dead between Charlotte and Raleigh. And then I also get an acceptance letter to the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. So I'm holding these two things, and I'm like, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, which is an hour away, University of North Carolina, Greensboro, which is where I am right now. It's the same school. So why don't I just go to Greensboro? Because nobody understands how confusing this is to have multiple schools inside a state, all named University of State, but then blank.
Right.
And this is something nobody gets. So I went to UNCG. You will read about it, my trials and tribulations, if you so desire. But it ended up being that I found out during orientation that, like, no, I wasn't going to be a Tar Heel, and no, I wasn't going to see Michael Jordan's play or the next Michael Jordan. But yeah, we made the NCAA tournament once in the school's history at the time. I think we've made it 3 times now in the school's history, so everything's looking up. Playing in the SoCon, so yeah.
The title of the article, again, we'll link to it in the description down below, is I spent 4 years of my life at the wrong college thanks to Michael Jordan. It's beautiful and perfect. And to your point, this was written, maybe you don't recall exactly, but March 18th of 2015, and the published time was 1:18 p.m. So you didn't even schedule it for like, whatever. You wrote it and you're like, bang, get it out. So
yep. That's how I roll. Just to shoot from the hip. Nothing planned. This is the most organization. Me being here for you today is the most organization I'll have in my week.
To be fair, we did organize this about a week ago. James, you're the best. As we leave, obviously you've got some gaming coming up. I don't even know what Borderlands is, but I hope you win, whatever that is,
okay.
Or however that's defined.
I appreciate
it. But
I hope you work on your self-care and you get some time, RJ, that you can enjoy some of these.
Spider-Man 2. I'm gonna get through that first, and then Hogwarts Legacy, and then I also still have the Guardians of the Galaxy game that I bought when I had a PS4. Like that's how
pretty
far
fun. That one was pretty good.
But on the subject of entertainment, what's something you recommend us watching? Could be on any service or whatever you want. Something that's binging for you, an old thing, a new thing. What you got?
Yeah, so I'll give again. Like I could give you my ethos is coming up with like things out of left field. So I'm going to give you
That's the SB Nation way, James. That's what we do.
Yeah. I'm going to give you Crime Scene Zero on Netflix, which is a Korean reality show where a whole bunch, it's dubbed over, so don't feel like you've got to read subtitles, but it's a whole bunch of actors role playing as crime scene investigators to investigate murders. And it's a lot of Korean comedians, references you wouldn't understand, but it's delightful and goofy, and it's fantastic.
How does this happen? Like how what is the sequence that you're like, let's try this? I mean, like what
I think Squid Game
okay,
just destroy. I think Squid Game destroyed my Netflix recommendations
right.
to where I watch every single Korean show about anything, and half of my Netflix recommendations are Korean shows, and then my daughter being addicted to K-pop Demon Hunters certainly
Right.
didn't help. So now Netflix is just like the Korean streaming channel in our house.
Netflix, I've seen like 19 TikToks of things that I want to watch that are all set to come out this month. So I normally don't add to this when I ask people, but
Yeah,
season 3 of The Diplomat with Kerry Russell so watch seasons 1 and 2 if you haven't seen it. I
I
highly
haven't.
recommend it.
I'll
It's
have
very
to
good.
check that one out. Okay.
James, you are the very best, the very best of us. I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day and life, but obviously just today, focus right now, and then kind of build upon that as you go along. I hope health, wealth, and happiness for you. I hope that Sunday is as like sports sad as it possibly can be for you, but that beyond that, it's prosperous and wonderful. But this Sunday, mortal enemies.
Look, you are the most likable Cowboys fan I have ever met, and I will always appreciate you, RJ. So thank you.
Shout out to that app that we don't remember the name of and the
Yeah, I know.
conversation.
I know.